Welcome back. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to set up your first week. Now by this point you should have written out your weekly targets, gotten a general idea of what you need to be doing, and you should be ready to say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish this week. Now the way that your weekly spreads are laid out is a bit different in your planner and journal, but for the sake of making this simple, I'm going to guide you through how to do it in the Phoenix Journal, which has a bit of a more detailed overview for each week. And based off of this, you can very easily see how to do it within the Phoenix Planner. Now, the first thing that you'll see is that you have a reflection from the past week. You want to make sure that you're continually looking back over time and saying, what can I improve upon? What have I done that I'm proud of? And what am I most grateful for? The reason for asking these three questions in particular is because, first of all, if you say, what victories am I proud of? You're making sure that you're actually acknowledging what you've done well and priming your mind to continue doing the same thing. If you don't acknowledge what you've done well and you don't look back and say, okay, this is right, then you're very likely to, you're not as likely to get into the pattern and to the habit of doing these things and reinforcing them. Positive reinforcement is a very powerful thing that we can do for ourselves, and it's so rare that people actually acknowledge the victories that they've won, even no matter how small or large it is. So let's say in the past week you've had a lot of failures, but maybe you just were waking up on time, or you weren't eating too much, small little victories, or maybe you had big victories. You want to acknowledge those so you can reinforce them and ensure that you continue doing the same action. And over time this will build up and you'll continue focusing on all the things that you're doing well. The next thing that you want to ask is, what do I most need to improve upon? This is a very important question that people don't often ask themselves, and that's why it's included in the journal, is because if you ask yourself and you focus on it, it's most likely that you're going to do it. So over the past week, let's say, back to the weight loss example, you were not eating as well as you should have been, then you will say, I need to clean up my diet this week. That's what I most need to improve upon, along with maybe, you can write multiple things underneath this, but that's just as an example. The reason I don't have it numbered and things like that, like a lot of other people do, is because this is specifically catered to you and your goals. You need to be able to put what you want to include in there and not feel like you are restricted to, to someone else's framework. This is a general blueprint for you to make the most out of. The next thing is, what am I most grateful for? This is a question that is included in a lot of journals and planners, and it's in there for a good reason. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you have a mindset of gratitude, positivity, abundance, and you don't take your eyes off the little things that are important that you already have to be happy for. Because this is a planner, this is a journal, this is very focused on goal setting. And if we don't take the time to sort of smell the roses every once in a while, we're very likely to get way too caught up in our goals and not actually acknowledge that there's a lot that we already have to be grateful for. We're just building up on top of that. We're living in a state of what is called blissful dissatisfaction. Where when you're eating a steak, you enjoy the first bite of the steak, and just because you like it doesn't mean you don't want to eat more. So that's kind of the mindset you want to be coming from when you're going towards your goals. And focusing on what you're grateful for is a great way to come from that mindset. Now the next thing that we do is we ask, what will I do to live the next week to the fullest in terms of my relationships, recreation, personal life, and your health and your work. And the reason that we do this is because maybe our goals aren't all related to this area, but we still want to keep them within focus. It's important that we don't forget about these things, because these are the aspects of our lives that will make us truly fulfilled and happy along the route to success. You don't want to just be completely letting these things go. And once again, while it's okay to go super narrowed in every once in a while and just 100% ignore your health and your family for maybe a week or something at a time, sometimes you have to do things like that in order to achieve what you want. It's important to still keep them in your mind. You can still take small actions to make sure you're paying attention to these things within your life. The next part is weekly goal setting. So these are really smaller milestones towards your monthly milestones and then your 12-week goals. And these are things that you've got to accomplish this week in order to achieve your 12-week goals. And what you'll see is that I have boxes underneath each of these where you can put what are essentially key actions underneath each goal. So let's say this week, we'll continue with the weight loss example. This week I want to lose 2 pounds. The key actions right here are just going to be go to the gym 3 times, track calories, or eat, let's say eat 2,000 calories a day, For some that'd be too much, for some too little. And then, you know, you can keep adding examples like wake up, morning, run. You know, just something like that, for example. And what you're going to do is make sure that these goals are still specific, actionable, and measurable, like your 12-week goals. Because you want to make sure that these are things that you can translate to your daily pages where you have daily key actions and your daily schedule. If you're not specific and measurable, then there's no way for you to actually say how you're going to take action on it today. So that's very important. And once again, you've written your blueprint. You've written all this out. So you can translate these targets very easily into something that will be your weekly goal. So right here I said weigh 180 pounds by the end of this week. That's very easy to translate as one of your weekly goals. So I can make this, if I could type right there, I can make this weigh 180 pounds. Now, it's right there. So that's basically it. It's very simple. You want to be focusing on, your primary focus should be on one or two things each week. But you know, if you want some things that are like tangential or like things in your recreational life that aren't as important that you know you can allocate to a later time, then do so for goals 3 and 4. But make sure that goals 1 and 2 are something that you're really going to focus on and accomplish, and that you can block out time for your day. Block out time within your day for. The next thing is, what am I looking forward to most in the next week? This is just a little question to get us excited for the next week. Another thing that we can focus on is just a positive thing to ask ourselves. And then after this, it's the action and habit tracker. So this is one of my favorite parts about the Phoenix Journal and Planner on the weekly spread, which is that on a weekly basis, you can say what actions, what habits you want to reinforce and focus on a daily basis, and you can track them and you can put check marks, I'll just say check mark, under each day of the week. So let's say that your action for this morning is you want to meditate this morning, you want to go on a run, and then you want to drink X amount of water today, like each day. And then what you do right here is you say how many days of the week do you want to do it. Say you want to meditate 5 days out of the week, you want to run 3 days out of the week, and you want to drink this amount of water 7 days out of the week. You put that underneath your aims. That's how many days of the week you want to do it. And then over time you're putting check marks for each day you fulfill that action or habit, and then at the end of the week you write down how many times you actually did it. So let's say I only meditated 2 times this week. So I kind of didn't live up to what I said I would. That puts it on your mind as something you need to improve because you're measuring it, and what can get measured can get improved. And then at the end of the week, let's say you ran actually 5 times. So you did really well on that. You drank the right amount of water 6 times. You can keep track by doing this. And you put check marks under each day. You can keep track by doing this of how well you are actually reinforcing those habits that you want to build. And what I recommend is looking every morning back at your weekly spread. Like really what I recommend doing is reading your visions every morning, which will take about 5 minutes. Read one of your visions every morning. Look over your calendar and then look over your week before starting your day. This process will take about 5 to 10 minutes, and it'll really prime your mind on what exactly you need to be doing during the day so that you don't let anything slip through the cracks. And that's really it for how your weekly schedule is structured. And then in the next video, what I'm going to be doing is telling you how to actually start taking action on your goals on a daily basis and how to make the most out of your Phoenix Journal. I'll see you then.